This Township of Selwyn Committee of Adjustment meeting of February the 27th, 2024 will come to order. Members of the public, staff, presenters, and members of the committee, please be advised that meetings are broadcast and recorded and made available on the internet. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none, we will go to our planner to announce the purpose of the meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Committee of Adjustment is holding a public hearing according to Section 45 of the Planning Act in order to consider two applications today for relief from bylaw 2009-0221, being the comprehensive zoning bylaw for the Township of Selwyn. The prescribed notice of the public meeting of the public hearing was provided by prepaid first-class mail to all residents within a 60-meter radius of the subject property. Ministries and agencies were circulated via email. The subject property was posted with a sign advertising the public hearings. The notice was also available on Township website. The notice circulation complies with the requirements of the Planning Act. If a specified person or public body does not make oral submissions at the public hearings, or make written submissions to the Committee of Adjustment of Township of Selwyn before the variances are granted, person or public body may not be entitled to appeal the decision of the Committee of Adjustment of the Township of Selwyn to the Ontario Land Tribunal. If you wish to be notified of the decision of the Committee of Adjustment of the Township of Selwyn on the proposed variances, you must make written request to the Secretary of the Treasurer of the Committee of Adjustment of the Township of Selwyn by fax, email, or Dropbox. Our first application today is A01-24. This is for 1592 Fire Route 6 in the Smith Ward. The proposal seeks relief from the bylaw in order to permit a 360 square foot sunroom addition and a 240 square foot open deck addition to an existing dwelling. The reliefs requested are to reduce the minimum high water mark from 30 meters to 16.7 meters to a sunroom addition attached to an existing dwelling, and to reduce the minimum high water mark setback from 30 meters to 12.8 meters to an open deck addition on an existing dwelling. We have comments from County Public Works has provided comments of no concern. The Autonomy Region Conservation Authority has no concern, but notes that a ORCA permit will be required. And we also had some late public comments come in from a couple of neighbors, including the neighbor immediately to the south of the property having no concern, and another neighbor not adjacent to the subject property also outlining no concern for the project. An archaeological assessment is recommended for this project as a condition. I find that the application meets the 4 tests of a minor variance. I do recommend this application for approval.
Thank you very much. I understand that the owner, Gwen Rose, is on the line. Is that so?
Gwen, can you accept the meeting or the request to join?
So Gwen Rose is on the line. Is there anything you wish to add to the planner's report? Are you muted?
Gwen, just unmute, please.
Okay.
Thank you. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Hi. Okay, that's great. No further comments at this time.
All right, thank you. And
Okay.
I understand that we also have Nancy Kerwin and Mike Sitko on the line. Is there anything that you wish to add or ask questions of our planner?
They actually ended up not joining.
All right. So
They were other neighbors that had no objections. They were further down on the street.
all right, thank you very much.
Okay.
So there is no one else in attendance, either virtually or in public, for or against this application. I'll bring it to committee. Are there any questions? Deputy Mayor Black.
For you, Chair. Just for when you're looking at the table that shows the zoning regulation existing and proposed, it shows existing at 16.7 and 12.8 and proposed at 16 and 12.8. Is this to make legal, existing, construct, or is this?
Yeah, so through you, Madam Chair, the distance, the setback distance is not changing. You can't encroach with a sunroom addition towards the lake. So, but you do need to have that recognized. So
Okay,
it's just demonstrating that there is no further encroachment towards the lake.
so it's just recognizing the existing encroachment on the new build.
Correct.
Technically, okay, thank you.
All right, I see no other further questions, so we will move on to A 0224, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is application file number A02 24. This is for 1464 Kingfisher Drive. The application is actually a corrective minor variance through a previous variance that was granted on the subject property. The garage was built in the wrong location. So we're just doing a corrective variance to provide a variance for the as-built site. So again, this is for a 1,055 square foot as constructed detached garage at this location. So the variants that are required is to reduce the minimum exterior side yard setback from 7.5 meters to 1.62 meters, to reduce the minimum setback from the center line of a public road from 17.5 meters to 11.62 meters, and to increase the number of accessory structures permitted on a lot from 3 to 4. For this one, we have comments from Peterborough Public Health, the Autonomy Region Conservation Authority, both having no concern for this particular project. With regard to the recommended conditions on review prior to the meeting today, I've actually stricken off from the decisions conditions 3 through 4 because it is an as constructed building, and the health unit had no concern, and the conservation authority does not require permits, and there is already a survey which is considered condition 4 has already been completed and submitted, and so those conditions 3 to 4 are not relevant. Conditions 1 and 2 are just to complete the building permit, and then an advisory notes that any future development will require to comply with the zoning bylaw, right? I find that the application meets the 4 tests of a minor variance, and I do recommend this application for approval.
Thank you very much. And Madam Clerk, was there anyone for or against this application?
There was no one registered, but I do see Holly Richards Connolly is on the call. So I'm not sure, Holly, if you're here for this application.
I am. Through you, Madam Chair, I'm just here to answer any questions that committee may have.
All right, thank you very much. So I will bring it to committee. Are there any questions with regards to this? Member Black.
Thank you, Chair Senis. Just a question around the location of the garage. Obviously, it's very, very close to the road. Do we typically put conditions of no parking? I mean, obviously the 7.5 meters there, so there's a parking spot in front of the garage, but there isn't on this one, right? If I'm reading the diagram properly.
Through you, Madam Chair. So the orientation of this garage, it doesn't enter from
Oh.
the Kingfisher Drive side.
Okay,
So there's no issue with the access
with
there.
access, okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I will ask for a motion to approve these 2 applications. Moved by Member Coolis, seconded by Member Black. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. We have no deferred matters. The minutes of the Committee of Adjustment meeting, December the 12th, 2023. Looking for a mover. Member Henry and Member Boyko seconding. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And a motion to adjourn. Our next meeting is March 26th. Member Henry and Member Coolis, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And we will directly head into our council meeting for Tuesday, February the 27th, 2024. We respectfully acknowledge that we are on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississauga and Anishinaabe. We offer our gratitude to the First Peoples for their care for and teachings about our earth and our relations. May we honor those teachings. Please observe a moment of silence so the council, staff, and members of the public can quietly reflect on our duty to the community that we are trying to serve. Thank you. Members of the public, staff, presenters, and members of council, please be advised that meetings are broadcast and recorded and made available on the internet. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none, we will go to the minutes of February the 13th, 2024. Were there any errors, omissions? If not, I'd like someone to move them. Councillor Henry, Deputy Mayor Black, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And we have our first deputation today, which is Craig Jones with the Peterborough County City Paramedics. Welcome, Craig. And you're going to be talking to us about the Community Paramedic Program.
Excited to be here. Appreciate the opportunity. Getting through council, we've been operating for about 2 years now, so forward to operate, residents. We did thing that I crafted in a while, but essentially what community paramedics are, proactive because very clear, find goals, find objectives. Foreign government a few years ago introduced community paramedics and funded it favorably. That allows us to proactive. Paramedics that need skill set, identify issues that are worsening, and yeah, as an advocate, and not leader, so whether that's physician, nursing, blood labs, coordinating lab work, there's just sort of an advocate that
Am I not loud enough? That has never been a problem ever. I'm probably better without the mic. I'm probably speaking too quietly. So that's just sort of an overarching goal. We're doing much more than that, and I'll get into that as we go through the program, but that helps you understand exactly what we're doing. We're doing point of care blood testing. So we're testing blood in the home for those that aren't able to either afford to be able to take a cab or have a family member drive them to lab for lab work, or we're able to do point of care urinalysis. So what we do is there's unique signs and symptoms for an elderly person who's experiencing urinary tract infection. They, believe it or not, start to act a little odd. And if the paramedic recognizes that, we can now actually take the urine test right in the home, get on the phone to the physician. The physician will then listen to the symptoms, make a prescription for my medics. Medics have the liberty to drive to the pharmacy if the person's not able to get it themselves or they don't have family members. Get that prescription, bring it back to the client, ensure that the client understands how to take it, and then check in on them the next day or two to make sure they are taking it. So it's a super flexible program. It's super adaptable. All we're trying to do is fill gaps. It's important to remember, we have no desire to take any paid providers or home community care support workers job away from. That is not our goal. We've identified gaps in our community. We all know there's human health resource challenges everywhere, but particularly in healthcare sometimes. So our job is to work with our partners, identify those gaps, and ask, how can we help? What can we do to support you? We're adaptable and flexible, which allows us to be able to intervene with these gaps. So who pays for this? This is always a good question. So the bulk payer is the Ministry of Long-Term Care. So they operate annually. We receive about $3 million from the Ministry of Long-Term Care, and we're funded until March 2026 within that program. It is not permanently funded yet, but we are very optimistic that it will be funded. I was recently in Toronto. They've released the first round of data that showed that the what we all suspected and knew anecdotally, that the program works. It keeps people well at home, out of emerge, out of primary care, and engaged with their community. So that's exactly what we wanted to see. So we look forward to more data analysis from that. This was the first release of that data, so it's very fresh. So that's one of our, so that pays $3 million. That's 11 paramedics. So 10 boots on the ground each day, 5. They work in a platoon type system, so 5 and 5. And then we also have a Monday to Friday remote patient monitoring person. What that is we own 200 kits, health kits, we'll call them. They're a tablet, super easy, big button, easy to use, even for the elderly that may have vision problems or cognitive problems. Twice a day, they're putting on their vital signs monitors, they're taking their blood pressure, taking their SAT. If they're a congestive heart failure patient, they're stepping on a scale. All of that data moves Bluetooth-wise up into the cloud. My medic is then sitting at a desk analyzing those results and looks at trending of each of those clients, and she is able to interact with them if she feels that there's a concern with the trending models. Additionally, in the background, McMaster University has built us trending demographics so that, you know, if they gain 2 kilograms in 2 days of a CHF patient, that's a bell that's going to go off because there could be something going on. Immediately, that paramedic has the flexibility to get on the phone, video chat through the solution, or text message through the solution if the client so desires, and then engage with primary care to ensure that the patient is doing well and get any necessary changes in their prescriptions or whatever it is to ensure that they do stay well. So that's 11 of the positions. In addition, there's a supervisor, a day-to-day operations supervisor that keeps the, you know, the bus or the train on the tracks. And then we have admin support. There's a lot of data pulling, a lot of data entry. So we have admin support on that as well. Another side of the house is CTS operations. So the safe consumption site in Peterborough, there's a paramedic there, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365. That's paid through by forecast and roundabout way up to the Ministry of Health pays for those operations. So what the paramedic's job there is to ensure that those that are consuming drugs, they can do so in a safe manner. If they have a negative effect of one of the drugs that they've consumed, the substances they've confused, then the paramedic can interact and prevent a potential overdose. How this benefits us on the 911 side of the house is always a great question. And what it does is, if that individual had done the substance that affected them negatively on the street, someone would have drove by, someone would have called 911, an ambulance would have blazed, a fire truck would have blazed, everybody would have blazed to that call. They're now in a safe, secure environment that's medically, you know, monitored, and everyone stays safe. So it reduces our 911 calls, which is a good thing. We don't want these people in emerge. They don't want to go to emerge, which is the most important piece. And so we help them stay safe in the environment they've chosen. The last one is Ontario Health. So that funds 3 positions, 3 FTEs. And again, they're a blend. We're working on new solutions to support ED discharge. Additionally, I'll talk a little bit more about a street medic program we have, a community paramedic that does outreach. I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. And they fund us around 3 FTEs, so it's around $480,000 a year. So all totaled, the ministries, the government is funding us about just shy of $4 million a year, $3.8 million a year. So just give everybody numbers. That's 100% provincial dollars, no hit to the local levies or the county level. So as I mentioned briefly in my previous thing, what are we doing? We're doing our traditional assessments where we check on people, see how they're doing, keep them well. We're doing med checks. We're doing vital signs assessments. We're doing cardiac monitors for physicians and the cardiac labs. We're doing blood glucose testing. We're doing point-of-care blood testing. We're doing point-of-care urinalysis. We're doing INR testing. So there's patients on Coumadin, their blood gets thinned. It's got to be in a very specific range or they could have a stroke. So we check that for the physicians, and a lot of these clients are homebound, not able to get out. Those are the clients we help. If they're able to be mobile, they're not our clients. We don't need to help you. You can help yourself. We're doing vaccinations. We partnered with public health. We're now doing 100% of any publicly available vaccination that's available to a senior. Our paramedics can go and do that and give it in the home. And again, that keeps people out of emerge, out of a doctor's office, in their home where they want to be, and takes away that anxiety, especially after COVID, that everybody has about being in an environment where we could get sick. So that's our goal, is to support that desire. We're working on programs to do ED diversion and ED rapid discharge. So physicians in emerge, they sometimes get hesitant about discharging a patient. They get the spidey senses are tingling, that they're not 100% comfortable discharging this client. or this patient. And what we do is we promise the doc, we'll say, hey, doc, we'll engage with that person within 12 hours. So that way now the doc has an added level of security. If there's something they're suspecting they're seeing, he can assign or she can assign us to check in on that symptom and report back. So that takes away that level of anxiety. Otherwise, they would have sat and emerged for 20, 24 hours and not went home, took up a bed, which, and again, I always tie it back to 911 side of the house, which I know we pay for here in the municipality and the county, is that frees up a bed, that frees up an ambulance to offload one of their patients, which then alleviates offload delay. So it's all supportive of a healthcare continuum for everybody. I know I talk fast, but I only have 10 minutes, I believe. And now I can't forward. There we go. What are the benefits? I think I've highlighted them all here. Point of care testing, access to services. You know, we're engaged. We're getting Meals on Wheels for those clients. My paramedics go in every fridge or in every house they check to make sure that these people aren't food insecure. If they are, they connect with the home community care to ensure we can get the Meals on Wheels programs engaged. We're doing wellness checks. We're doing geriatric special tests. We're doing everything we can do to support these individuals to stay well at home. How do you get us? So it's pretty easy. We did a great initiative with almost all the services in Eastern Ontario. So the Eastern Ontario Warden Caucus area, 11 of the 13 services in that area have jointly combined to create one community paramedic website. My rationale in developing that program was the Ford government's rationale of no wrong door. So I thought to myself, you know, we've got patients that live in Peterborough, but they're in a hospital in Ottawa. Let's say they had a heart institute work done or whatever. Discharge planners know about community paramedics, but they don't know how to get Peterborough paramedics. Like they have no idea. So what they do is just go communityparamedics.ca and enter your address, and it takes you wherever the paramedic program, whether it's LNA, Leeds, Granville, Lanark, all those services are part of this project. And when it does that, it actually takes them to the specific form that service wants filled out to enroll people. We chose this pathway simply because we're very unique in this in Peterborough County. We allow either self-referral or familial referral. It's very important to me, and it's through my own heartstrings. My mom lives far away. She was calling me every day. Not that I don't love my mom, but I want to talk to her every day. So, you know, sometimes she has breathing trouble. She'd put the sat monitor on. It'd be a little lower than she would have expected. She'd get on the phone to me. I'd be like, Mom, just calm down. So we felt it was very important for those people that have family members living here in Peterborough County, that they have access to community paramedics without having to get a referral from a physician or a nurse or whatever. I can just alleviate some stress in my life by calling up the local service and saying, hey, can you guys take my mom on with her consent? She'll fill out a form and away we go. So that's why we do that here. We're very unique. So our outreach team, you may have heard the term, everybody, MSORT. So MSORT was a federally funded program. We ran it for 3 years. We got a 1-year extension. I know you're looking at your watch, Mayor. I'll speed up. It essentially the funding's ended, but the program worked and specific portions of it worked. So we've now created community paramedic outreach program. So it would be called CPOP moving forward. And the reason for that is that paramedic is supporting the homeless population in a way that we never anticipated or expected. So right now they're doing all kinds of referrals to follow-up care, to rehab, to other services that are available in the community, connecting to housing. But what has really come to light is wound care. These clients are physician averse, nurse practitioner averse, facility averse, so hospital averse. They don't want to go anywhere. They want to stay where they are. So our street medic took a very in-depth wound care program. We partnered with 360 Clinic. We partnered with Dr. Beamish. And this paramedic is now on the streets doing wound care. For those that are sensitive, this isn't a bad round of pictures. I just want to show you the work of what they're doing. And this person would have ended up in ICU, septic, probably would have lost a limb. So this is a progression picture, as you can see. So that was when she first met her client. after her treatment and engagement, on a weekly basis, they were connecting base, and we got this person back to a somewhat, more and more comfortable way of living and operating and functioning. Now this person can walk. Before they couldn't even walk. They wouldn't walk. It hurt too much. So it changes their lives. And we are doing so much of this that we felt there was value in leveraging that Ministry of Health funding to make a permanent position in our community. What's next? What can we do? We play to our strengths. We're adaptable and flexible, and I'm constantly meeting with our partners in the community to ensure that any gaps that are seen get addressed if we can address them, or work together with them to facilitate them being fixed in a way that we can help. Hospital discharge, I spoke of, these are future opportunities. Code 3 diversion. So in the future, potentially, we're getting a new dispatch system that higher prioritizes clients. What we could potentially do in the future is if, let's say a 911 ambulance can't get there within an hour, what we can do is send a community paramedic who could then probably cancel the 911 side of the house because it's probably not a condition that needs to go to emerge. So we're working on those kinds of programs as we get new systems, and that MPDS up on the screen is what that is. We're supporting palliative patients. We're working with more and more physicians in the community now. It's amazing how many call now once they hear about the program. They're engaging with us. They say, how do I roll my person? How do I get to work with you? And it's great. Another one is Suboxone we're looking at right now. For those that don't know, that's a getting off of opioids treatment plan that is a little less addictive than methadone, which some have probably heard of. So we're working, we're growing. We have confirmed funding for the bulk of the funding till 2026. So that's awesome. The 400,000 that operates the 480 operates the 3 FTEs is base funded. So as long as this government's in power and the new government, potentially if they come in, don't change the funding platform, we'll have those 3. We want to obviously continue everything, and those discussions are ongoing at a provincial level to ensure that these programs stay funded moving forward. That is the website. So anybody can go to communityparamedics.ca, enter an address, go where you go, enter your address. It's going to take you to whomever's form needs to be there. You can always call us. Our number is there. It's all on the county website as well as the city website. So we're on both of those platforms. Happy to answer any questions. Sorry if I went long.
No,
Mayor.
that's fine. No, you did really well. And the fact that you're there should cut down on medical calls with our fire department too. So that's a good thing. We appreciate everything you do, and I'm happy that you've been able to let the rest of council know just what we're up to.
Oh, that's great.
And thank you for your advocacy to get the funding, because we didn't have it.
No, we didn't.
No.
So great.
Deputy Mayor Black.
Thank you to your Mayor Sennis. Thanks for the presentation, Craig. It's really informative, and I harken back to 1978 when I was a young white-eyed respiratory therapist coming to Peterborough to work at the old Civic Hospital. And we had ambulance services back then. There were no paramedics, and a lot of people don't realize that the paramedic service, as we know it today, probably didn't come in until late 90s.
Yeah, late 90s. Yeah.
Late 90s. So, the progress that's been made is amazing.
Yeah.
I think the government clearly understands that our typical home care service is not as nimble as it needed to be, as patients were discharged from emergent and showed up back the next day. So, this program has been fantastic, and regardless of what your opinion is on harm reduction, things like CTS, this is saving money if that's important to residents as well. And it's unfortunate the MSORT funding is coming to an end after the March date, I believe. When you mentioned, so that really, does that just affect the CTS support, or is that the whole program?
So that would have affected MSORT, but what we did was leverage the funding that had been vicarious to become permanent, and we made one of those positions dedicated to what I could have called it MSORT, but it's not exactly the same as MSORT because we've adapted it.
Yeah.
They're doing homeless outreach. They're doing in the shelters in Peterborough and doing a big part of that wound care. So that position is funded through that avenue now. So yes, it was a shame to lose the MSORT funding for sure. Yeah. I understand Health Canada's premise though. Their premise of the funding was show us a model.
Yeah.
Let's do proof of concept. We proved that it worked, but they said, Health Canada said, not our job to fund these kinds of programs in perpetuity.
I know as a member of the forecast board, having the paramedics at the CPS site has saved many, many lives.
Mhm.
And, so it's good to hear that you're able to still continue to staff that situation moving forward, and there would be no change to
Nope.
your activities there.
Absolutely. Through
Great.
your-
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Are there any other questions of Craig? Councillor Henry.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Senes. Craig, thank you very much for your presentation, and thank you for bringing this to our community and all the work that you're doing with it. My father became quite ill throughout COVID, and managing the situation at home, because that's where he wanted to be, came with a lot of challenges, and having to facilitate numerous organizations to make what was required of us was very challenging. And we seem to be in a competition for the second or the most highest concentration of seniors in Canada, with more to come. Case in point, talking to you, it's going to get busier, and this is going to be in high demand. The dollar figures came up a couple of times here, and not that it's a concern, but I do think that I hope that the county and others are looking at a contingency plan to keep this moving forward. If, as you mentioned, change in government, change in opinion, policy could impact this, because I'm certain that our budget's going to fluctuate a bit, as this is going to take some of the pressures off Chief Joplin and his team. I know a couple of times I needed an ambulance coming to my dad or to my home for my father, and he thought my house was on fire with the amount of fire trucks that showed up. And I'm truly grateful that everyone was there, that the resources were there, but it was also with the coordination challenges that we have through our 911 service, and everyone just responding, because like you say, I think the word was you go blazing in. You sure do, because the life's on the line. So I hope that the county and municipalities within it are looking at being able to somehow support this in the future as well.
That is part of strategic planning discussions, and that 10-year master plan of looking forward of where are we going to be, and those are part of those discussions for sure.
Councillor Koulis.
Thank you. I kind of have like three separate questions that go together, and it segues nicely with Councillor Henry. So the first two are two parts, so I'm going to take a minute for this. Your participant numbers, are those publicly available, and are they broken down by age or demographics?
So they're publicly available. We do have a report that went to county council. So I guess, yeah, that county council is publicly available. We're supporting just shy of just over 1,000 clients. Largest age demographic is 65 to 75. We broke it up by tens, but that is the highest propensity of population too, rather than, we are supporting a lot of 80, 90-year-olds. There's just less of them. So that is available in a public council report. I can share that with Tanya. And no problem.
Sure. The segue for that is that money coming up, being questioning, and the succession of this, is our township doing delegations at like Roma or AMO? Would that be helpful? Because
So-
I'm thinking here specifically for accessibility, because county would likely be taking it straight on, but we could be a secondary voice.
Yeah, through Mayor Senes, I know that there's been discussions at Ontario Wardens Caucus, Roma, at AMCTO, everywhere, anywhere they can advocate. I know that the counties are advocating to make this funding permanent so that we can plan past 2026.
Just segueing back to the first question is, if we get those numbers for accessibility, we could work it in from accessibility delegation, seniors under accessibility. So we've had success in getting those delegations before. So
Great.
Another voice might be helpful. And then the third kind of question here is, do you have information packages? Because I know a lot of people who could use this, but aren't going to go digital to find it.
We don't. This comes up all the time. Our struggle with this is, where do we put them? To be honest, there's at your doctor's office, there might be a little board, you can pin some up. We're trying to work with as much primary care as we can to ensure that they're aware of the services and can support their patients in accessing the services. A physician can refer to us. We're going to then pick up the phone and engage with the client with their permission from their physician. So we're doing everything we can with that paper concept is, you're 100% correct. Not this demographic doesn't necessarily engage with digital. It's just, how do we engage with them paper product? I mean, we could provide something here at the municipality, but would it get access because they might not know it's here? It's just one of those things that's super hard to find the perfect avenue to disseminate. So that's why I'm here. You know, why I talk to physicians' office, why I go to age-friendly Peterborough seminars, why I go to North Corsa to do health seminars. I've been up to the First Nations communities. And again, it's just avocation. And a lot of people, you're right, no idea. Oh, this is great. How do I get it?
I lied. I got one more question.
That's okay.
Would you want to come to the Shamrock Festival and speak as a participant there? Because we've
I'd
got the fire there. Yeah.
Be happy to,
Okay, I'll email.
as long as I'm not away, because it is
Yeah.
coming up soon, is it not?
You're
I
on
believe?
TV. Yes. Thank you.
Councillor Henry, you had another question.
Thank you through Mayor Senes. Just follow up with what I was thinking before, with the digitization of what you're doing, would power of medical attorney or power of attorneys be able to access that information as you were voicing with your mom, you know, having a bad day and she gets stressed out? Is there a way that you could be following her information as well if you are in one person that is in that position?
100%. So the solution we use is available on your phone. So actually Chief Mello, his father was in Windsor, and he won't mind me sharing the story. He shares it all the time. He could watch his dad from Peterborough on the app. All his dad had to do was consent, and he could see all its results. So it's a nice way, you know, a nice level of security. I can check in on mom. She doesn't even know I'm checking in on her. So yeah, so the solution we went with, sir, does have the app capability. Not all of them do, but that's why we chose one of the ones that we did to engage those family members.
All right, I don't see any other questions, so I'm looking for someone to move receiving the presentation. Deputy Mayor Black. Seconded by Councillor Koulis, all in favor. Thank you. Oh, wow. I don't take the signs.
Through you, Mayor.
Anyway,
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, so 1 minute before we can start our public meeting. So we have a public meeting, a zoning bylaw amendment for Reinhardt C 01-24-4209 Highway 28 Smith Ward. And I would ask the planner to announce the purpose of the meeting, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Township of Sullivan is holding a public meeting to consider an application to amend the zoning bylaw for the Township of Sullivan in accordance with Section 34 of the Planning Act. Prescribed notice of public meeting was provided by prepaid first-class mail to all residents within a 120-meter radius of the property subject to the application, as well as by a sign posted on the property. The notice was provided via email to the prescribed ministries and agencies. The notice is also available on the Township's website. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at the public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Sullivan before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the council, the Township of Sullivan, to the the Ontario Land Tribunal, nor can a person or public body be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the local Ontario Land Tribunal unless in the opinion of the tribunal there are reasonable grounds to do so. As you stated, Your Worship, this is for 4209 Highway 28. It's a zoning amendment as a condition of a severance consent, being file number B14-22 with the County of Peterborough. It's creating a rural residential lot with a remnant rural parcel. There's deficiencies with regard to the zoning compliance, so the zoning amendment addresses those deficiencies. Specifically, the severed parcel is slightly undersized, and the lot frontage on the retained parcel is also under the requirement for the rural zone. So two site-specific zones are being created. The rural residential exception 605 and the rural exception 604 zones. Obviously, the severed parcel is also being rezoned from rural to rural residential to recognize a residential use for that property. I find that the application conforms to the provincial policy statement, conforms to the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, and also conforms with the township official plan. I do recommend the application for approval. In terms of comments, we have comments of no concern have been received from Enbridge, the County of Peterborough Public Works, and the Peterborough Public Health. Autonomy Region Conservation Authority also has no concern, noting that on Orca regulated portions of the property, Orca permits will be required for any construction activities. Those are my comments.
Thank you very much. And I understand that the agent, Emily McCavaney from LLF Lawyers, is on the line. Is that so?
That's correct. Emily, can you just unmute? Oh, thank you.
Do you have anything you wish to add?
No, I don't have anything I wish to add. I think Per summed it up quite well. I'm just here in case anybody had any specific questions to the application. I did submit it on behalf of the property owners, so I figured it'd be worthwhile to be here.
All right, thank you very much. And I understand that there are a couple of questions from people that are online. Madam Clerk.
Yes, Alex, if you want to speak to the matter, you'll need to join the meeting as a panelist.
So it's Alex Sobler.
Thanks, Alex. Alex, you may be muted.
It doesn't show as mute. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can
Yes.
hear you now. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, I just wasn't sure exactly what it mean for the remaining, the change in zoning in the non-severed off parcel, the zoning change, what exactly that would mean, or what would be permitted on that piece of land after that zoning change. And that was actually my only current question.
Per.
So through your worship, from what I understand, what I heard was just asking about any zoning change to the retained parcel. No zoning change. The permitted uses are remaining the same as per the rural zone. The site-specific exception being addressed through the current zoning amendment is only to allow for reduced lot frontage. So there's no changes to the permitted uses. Rural zone permits primarily residential and farm uses.
Okay, if there's no changes, then all's good with me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I understand that there is Mr. Mike Cowling that is on the line.
He doesn't appear to be in attendance.
All right. What about Tom Beckett?
Mr. Beckett was on the call, but doesn't appear to be on the call. So maybe he's trying to sign back in. So we could maybe just move on to see if there's anybody from the public audience. And if he signs back in, we'll let you know.
Absolutely. So is there anyone here from the public that would like to speak to this application? No? All right.
Oh, no, we don't see him. So
All
maybe
right.
his questions were answered.
All right. So I will bring this to the council. Question, Councillor Boyko.
Thank you. Through your Mercedes, Per, there's a question. I'm looking at point 3 from Orca's comment. And it applies to the Clean Water Act, something that all of the members of council have been trained to be very wary of changes to that anything could affect the municipal water service. And I'm looking at number 3.3, what is in bold. And I'm trying to understand this, where it says, looking at the second sentence, the subject property is located within the following designated vulnerable areas where the source protection plan does not apply. But then it says the intake protection zone 3 for municipal service water system, a highly vulnerable aquifer and a significant groundwater recharge area. Now, my training tells me to be very careful about allowing development in such an area. And yet Orca seems to be saying that this is all right. So could you explain, help me to understand this?
Yeah, so through you, your worship. So I gather there's been some changes to the way that the source water protection officer and Orca view how the source protection plan is administered. They're also now advising on areas that are within our groundwater recharge area, however, not subject to regulatory permits. And that's what this point is addressing. So you'll note in the bolded section on point number 3 that they are saying that a restricted land use notice is not required. So it's not within a regulated area under the Clean Water Act. However, this area, I guess, is part of the larger groundwater recharge area, and all recharge areas are sensitive to some degree, right? But not necessarily regulated. So in this particular case, there's no further regulations under the Clean Water Act that apply in order to permit either the zoning amendment or the consent application to proceed.
Clear as mud.
I agree.
Right. Any other questions?
Mr. Beckett's actually on the call now.
Oh, all right. Yes, so Tom Beckett, you have registered to speak virtually on this application. What is your question, sir?
The only question I have is, why is there a difference in the way the map is drawn between figure 1 and the other figures? I believe it's figure 3 in the material.
Here.
So through you, your worship, it turns out our GIS was incorrect. It was noted by, I'm not sure if it was yourself, sir, or another one of your neighbors brought it to our attention that there was indeed a lot addition consent at the south end of the property that was completed in the 90s. That particular portion of the property was zoned rural residential. It would have remained so even if we didn't correct our GIS. The GIS has since been corrected to show that the south end of the property, a small portion of that, is no longer part of the subject lands. I hope that clarifies that point. So there is some discrepancy between the application that was submitted to the county in terms of the original consent application, which utilized the GIS at the time, and then my report now in figure 5 reflects more the accurate the parcel as it stands today, minus the lot addition at the south end.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Bennett? Beckett?
Okay, it does. And I have one other quick question. As I heard the response earlier, there's no change to the rural farm property zoning, including the size of the lots in the future, or does that change?
Yeah.
Through your worship. So the zoning amendment specifically is worded that the lot area, the lot frontage in this case, because it's undersized, will be as approved through the consent application with the county. In terms of lot area, the rural zone requires 20 hectares. So this particular parcel meets that minimum lot area. So that doesn't need to be addressed through this site-specific zoning amendment. The general rural zone regulations apply and are being met.
Okay. So there's absolutely no change to the frontage that's currently there. This amendment would not change the frontage of any residential property on that rural area. Do I understand that correctly?
Yeah.
So again, through your worship, so for the severed parcel, similar again, the lot frontage requirement under the rural residential zone is being met of 45 meters, but it's undersized because we require 1 acre under rural residential, and the severed parcel is 0.39 hectares, which is like 0.9 something acres, right? So it's slightly undersized. So that's why the zoning amendment is rezoning that parcel, the residential lot from the rural zone to the rural residential, and then recognizing that it's also still slightly undersized for a general rural residential zoning.
Okay.
All right.
So as I understand it, the frontage size will change to one from 200 meters, I believe it was, to 150, or does that change on the farm property as well?
Yeah, through your worship. So the frontage is calculated on the Sandy Point Road side in accordance with our zoning regulations and direction on how to calculate frontage. Because of that, the frontage and the severed parcel can't meet the 200-meter required frontage on Sandy Point.
So that's changing to 149.5. I understand that. But
Yeah.
but does that mean the rest of the property, the rural farm property will also change from 200 to 149.5?
Yes.
I don't understand. We're only dealing with the frontage on Sandy Point Road.
So nothing else then on the rural farm property zoning changes then from existing?
That's correct.
Okay, I get that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we have no one else here from the public to speak to this, and we've had questions. I'm looking for a motion to receive the report and approve the application. Moved by Councillor Henry, seconded by Councillor Boyko. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. We will now move on to our second public meeting, building fees review. And I will turn this over to Robert to give the purpose for the meeting.
Thank you, Mayor Senes. The municipality is holding a public meeting today to provide an opportunity for the public to comment on proposed changes to our building permit fees. I brought a report before council on February 1st, and as required by the Building Code Act, today's meeting is a statutory requirement, and I'm here to take questions.
Okay. So we have before us this, the recommendation and the report. And I am going to ask if there's anyone from the public that would like to speak to this in favor of it. Anyone to speak to it against it? Would you like to please take the mic, give us your name, your address, and use the mic, make sure.
Sure. My name is Jason Marshall. I'm from Ennismore. So I've had a couple questions through the report. Now, I'm a BCIN designer, so I do work with a lot of the different building departments around. And first, I want to say that I love our building department. It is great. So nothing against that. But when my first question is, when the PCC wrote the report to increase the fees, did they take a look at anything in terms of efficiency and reducing the costs of the work?
Sorry, just reference.
So the PCC, PCC is the organization that wrote this report recommending the fee increase. Now, I see that they've recommended a fee increase to offset the deficit we're running. However, have they looked at efficiencies within the building department to reduce our operating costs rather than increasing the cost of permits?
Are we going to have Angie answer this or Janice?
Yeah, so the Performance Concepts Consultants, PCC, thank you. That report was done back in 2021 when it was brought to conclusion. And yeah, for sure, they did look at the operations of the building and planning department as a whole, looking to how it was staffed, how it was functioning, made a number of recommendations around fees for both building and planning to ensure that costs were being covered. Looked at staffing levels, actually made some recommendations around some increased staffing levels, and also some recommendations around utilizing technology in terms of processing for building permit applications and planning applications. Sometimes those things they're easier for the customer. They're not so much easier for staff. They actually can generate some more work on the back end. So, but for sure, when that report was done, they did look at the full gamut of operations for both building and planning.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. So the recommendation to increase the fees, is it related to the reduction in permit applications, or is it related to the fact that they're billing it by square foot and square meter now rather than construction cost value?
I can speak to that.
Yes. Go ahead.
In our review of our fee structure and the way we've operated, what we found is that when we did switch to area cost versus valuations, we were running at very high levels of activity, and a lot of good work was put in to that by our staff in our department. But what we have found is that even with our proposed increases, I did an analysis on a selection of 10 random single-family dwelling permits that we issued last year, and through that assessment, what we found is that although the proposed increases would equate to a 12.3 increase over the current fee structure, it actually still equates to a 39.5% reduction in fees from what we were charging based on construction valuation. So all that hard work that our staff had put in was during extremely busy period when the department was understaffed. And the reality is we kind of needed to hit it's a little bit of magic trying to figure out permit activity numbers and where our fee structure needs to be. The system is designed that we aim for 100% recovery, and in good years we develop a bit of a reserve, and in lean years like we've gone through the last few years, we've done significant drawdowns on our reserves, and we've found that we are extremely below the revenue generated needed to maintain the service level that we provide. So our goal here is to bring us, we're not looking to bridge the entire deficit. This is aimed at bridging us to about half of reduction in half of the deficit, with the intent and forward looking that activity will start to resume as interest rates stabilize and reduce, and we have some other subdivisions that are looking to come online in the next while. So we expect that our activity will continue to trend back up.
That's great. Thank you. So that, I think that answers my question, but my next question, but in terms of if I compare this chart that was in the report, the amount of permits issued versus the revenue, the last 2 years, 22 and 23, it seems the average cost per permit is the same or roughly the same as it was in 2019, 2020, and 2021. So although we have a reduction in permits issued, the average permit fee that's being brought in is on average around $1,300, and that has not changed. So I guess my question would be, if we have a reduction in permits submitted and we still have a certain level of service being provided, is that level of service being provided still required if we have a reduction in permit applications? Meaning that our operating costs would go down as the permits go down, or alternatively, if the amount of permit applications does pick up, will the permit fee again be reduced back to where it is today?
So through Mayor Sinnis, we continually monitor our revenue and budget requirements and what it takes to run our department. There was a period of a number of years, probably through 2018 through 2021, where our department staffing levels didn't fluctuate, and we were essentially understaffed during that period. And the amazing staff here managed to make it work, and pretty relatively high stress environment for the amount of permits, well above the provincial average. Provincial average is, we're projecting to be right sort of in line with that, with our new staffing addition that we're bringing on, considering the changes to the way, with us taking on our sewage system responsibilities. So we're going to continue to need to monitor those staffing levels and see what happens with our workload. It's something that constantly requires management and monitoring.
Perfect. Thank you. And I do agree with you. I've seen how hard Paul and Chantel are working, so I don't have any disagreements there, but thank you for answering my questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And is there anyone else that would like to speak to this public meeting? Again, can I have your name? Oh, okay. I thought she was getting up to speak. So I'm going to come back to, there's no one else online to speak to this, correct? All right, I'll come back to council for questions before I hand it over to other members. I would like to know, with these changes, are we going to remain competitive? The last, when we received a report on February the 1st, my question was, had we looked at comparable municipalities, what they were charging? It's important to me that we are competitive. And at the time, I was given a general answer. Do you have a little more that you can add to that answer now, Robert?
Yes, through Mayor Senes, I did a fairly large comparison with both local municipalities and our traditional comparators. It's very difficult because we have some municipalities that are still using straight construction value. We have some municipalities that do a blended approach, use construction values for certain permit applications, use square footage rates for other calculations. We are certainly not the highest. We're in the mix, but honestly, we need to look at what our services to maintain the level that we have cost us. I can certainly provide the table that I put together to council if you'd like to have a look at that. It's a bit of a higher level look at what some of our comparators and in particular some of our local municipalities are charging.
I would appreciate that. I don't know if the rest of council is interested, but I would like to see that. And I know that for the most part, our adjoining townships use the square foot, square meter now. I think there's maybe one outlier that isn't gone the other way for some reason, but so it should be easier to compare compared to what we did before. So I'm going to hand it over to council for any questions or comments on this. Councillor Boyko?
I just noticed that Janice would like to.
Oh, Janice.
I just put my three, there's actually three of the other local municipalities who are
Oh.
still based on construction value.
Okay.
And there are some, as well as Robert mentioned, that are part construction value and part square footage. So it becomes very difficult to try and
We'll see
compare
that
those.
when we get
Yeah.
his report, I guess. Thank you. Deputy Mayor Black.
Thank you, through you, your worship. I want to thank Mr. Marshall for actually coming and asking some very pertinent questions. Stole some of my questions actually around the staffing and technology and those sorts of issues. And I think the biggest challenge for municipalities, even though we don't consider ourselves a small municipality in relation to Peterborough County, we have a minimum number of staff. And when there's fluctuations in volume, that's a really tough decision to make as far as letting a person go, because 6 months down the road, it could be back to where it was before. So that's one of the biggest challenges, I think, with this. One of the other things I think that's apparent in the consultant report is that in the days of using construction value for building permit purposes calculation, I believe there was a lot of underestimation of what was submitted back in those days as to the construction value. So that would certainly flaw the first couple of years of recommendations for what our rate should be. And I think that's just a fact. I think that's the way it was done in the past. The square footage, square meter approach is a fairer approach and more realistic to the business. So I think I support that, and given even the changes that the planning department and building department is proposing here, we're still coming in with $100,000 shortfall to cover costs this year. There's also the addition of the septic system inspections that we have to take over from Peterborough Public Health. So all of those factors really, in my mind, justify the changes at this point. I think it gets us closer to where we need to be. Without it, we're 150,000 behind, I think is the number. 152, I think is the number I remember. So I think it's appropriate, and I thank Mr. Marshall for his questions today too.
Any other questions? Councillor Henry.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Senes. Yes, Mr. Marshall, thank you. You saved me some time already, where I wanted to go here today. And I do echo Mayor Senes's request for some comparison reports. Building permit fees are not supposed to be a huge revenue generator for us. It's not supposed to, it's supposed to sustain itself, but obviously needs some reserves there, especially for unprecedented situations, whereas prior to COVID, understaffed, okay, now we're staffed, oh, COVID. And we're still going through the boom bust echo effect on that. But we do have to stay competitive with our neighboring townships in place to be able to come and build, but at the same time, we do have to get that revenue gap closed because the reserves are going to disappear. I think we should have a baseline reserve amount, but it was a pretty a substantial amount there before that we were way at. So yeah, definitely would be in support of the fees going up, but I do want us to remain for sure. Thank you.
Great. No other questions, so I'm looking for a motion to receive the information and to approve the new building permit fee schedule in the 2024 tariff of fees update. Moved by Councillor Henry, seconded by Councillor Koulis. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you very much. Were there any questions, Madam Clerk?
No questions.
Right. Right. Have the tariff of fees update, and who is going to be presenting that? Angie?
Yes, I can do that. Yeah, on the fee theme, and just want to thank Tanya for a lot of work that she put into this report. So we do have a consolidated tariff of fees. So we've tried to collect all of the fees that we charge in the township and put it in one place. It does become a little bit onerous, but it is a good document, and it is something that we've been doing since about 2016. So we do consider our fees and charges kind of through a few different ways through the budget process. Some of the fees will be identified for increases. Just today, we did our building permit fee review. Council deals with development charges through the development charges bylaw, and we have dealt with our planning fees as well. So just to highlight, I won't go through the report in great detail. You certainly here for any questions, but this year's consolidated tariff of fees would incorporate the new building fees that were just approved by council. Some changes to the development charges, which are adjusted annually by the construction price index. Planning fees that were already approved by council back in March of 2024. We did also increase a number of fees through the revenue and fundraising strategy that council had considered sometime in 2023. I can't quite remember when. And as I said, there were a few fees that were identified through the budget process. So some increases to our landfill rates, parks and rec rates, marina rates. We do have new fees in there for water and sewer. So those fees are actually established, the actual rates are established through our water and sewer rate bylaw, but we do have some fees, like if somebody needs a shut off or a turn on, there is a fee for that. So that has been added into the tariff of fees. And you'll recall as well that we, through our telecommunications tower application, so if, say Rogers or Bell comes forward, we would have used the services of CRINs in the past. We're not going to do that any longer. So we will have a new policy coming forward for council to approve, but getting ahead of it, we do want to make sure that we are collecting a fee from any of those agencies that might apply for an application. So happy to answer any specific questions that council might have. But the intention would be that we would approve any of those changes and pass the bylaw amendment to approve the consolidated tariff of fees.
All right, are there any questions from council? Deputy Mayor Black.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Sennis. Just on the general fees, page 4. The food cycler replacement filters, it's a refillable filter. We're not selling the disposable, I hope.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay, good news. And the carbon refills is, how's that compared to like online pricing? Are we at the same or?
Yeah, we would be the same. What would the savings would be right now if you were to place the order, you'd have to pay for the shipping costs.
Right.
So if we have a small supply here at the office, then the ratepayer won't have to pay that shipping fee. They can just come here to the office.
So we're buying at a bulk discount because there is a cost to doing this as far as invoicing and processing and all those sorts of things if they use their visa. And
yeah, we're not buying in any great quantity. We have a minimum quantity that we're purchasing, and we're not getting a reduction in the actual unit cost.
EV charging stations, an hour and $1.50 per hour.
Mhm.
Is that competitive? I don't know.
Yes, that is. So we've taken a look at some of the other areas where they charge for the EV charger. So we are competitive at the $1.50 per hour.
Are these considered the fast chargers, the half hour to 80%?
Yeah, they're the level 2.
Okay.
Yes.
Are there any of? Seeing none, I'm looking for someone to move the recommendation, which is lengthy, and I'm not gonna read it for you. Moved by Councillor Henry, seconded by Deputy Mayor Black, all in favor. That's carried. Thank you. And we will now move on to a report on the removal of holding 1575 Chemung Road. Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just for council's clarification, this holding zone lift, so this is not a public meeting. It's just a procedural step in order to allow development to occur on the subject property. The building department obviously can't issue building permits until a holding zone, if there is one, it has been lifted. Specifically, however, I should just mention, so this is for the hybrid sports complex on Chemung Road. There's 3 buildings in total. There's a dome as part of phase 2. There's a second sort of structure building, gym facility, and then there's a storage building proposed as part of phase 2 of this development. The township is satisfied that our concerns have been addressed. A site plan agreement has been entered into on circulation of the intent to remove the holding zone lift. The County of Peterborough Public Works Department had a number of concerns. Specifically, they're looking to get a cost estimate for road improvements to Chemung Road. So a security deposit in regard to those road improvements based on the cost estimate. They're also looking for final drawings, engineered stamp drawings, and some arrangement with the township in regard to how we're going to handle that security deposit being required from the applicant to be administered by the county. Because of those outstanding issues, the County Public Works Department is asking us to defer decision on the proposed holding zone lift until a later date. We're in agreement with that. The comments initially came to us in 2022 and seemed relatively minor, and therefore we proceeded with the site plan agreement. However, like I said, the township or the county has provided comments that they're very concerned about having these particular issues that I mentioned addressed prior to any building permits being issued. So that's where we're at. The process for holding zone lift is similar to a zoning amendment in that we do have to provide public notice so that all the neighbors have been notified within 120 meters of the subject property. And because it was announced that we would be dealing with this matter today, we're bringing it forward and asking for deferral. The next step then would be I'll bring this matter back before council when we do receive our final clearance from the county that they're satisfied that their issues have been addressed. At that point, I will not have to recirculate the public notice because that has been taken care of. And anybody that, wants to understand what the application or where it's at, there is the public record for today, noting that the matter has been deferred for decision until a later date. So if there's any questions about what's happening here with this application, I'll be happy to take those.
I don't see any questions, so I need someone to move the recommendation, please. Deputy Mayor Black, Councillor Henry, all in favor, that is carried. Thank you. We're going to move on to consent items, and I'd like to pull the Peterborough County report. Is there, and Councillor Boyko, you as well?
That's the one I was gonna
Anything
ask for,
else
yeah.
that people want pulled?
Talking about 7 and 8, both organics and
7A and no, 8 is committee reports. Yeah,
the organics.
7A, it's in the county.
It's okay. Okay, it's not a set. there's a
Right,
separate
so
one.
we will deal with everything else that's in the consent. If I can have a mover and a seconder for the things that we are just receiving, Councillor Henry and Councillor Boyko, all in favor? It's carried, thank you. We will move on to 7A. And are you sleepy? Okay. Right, so the reason I pulled the Cantor report is there's mention in here with regards to the garbage upload study report 7 and 8, the organics. So I just wanted to bring Township Council up to date as to what is going on at the county. We had an organizational review, and as part of that, there was a service delivery review that county dealt with in the last term. One of the recommendations was to look at the feasibility of uploading our garbage contracts for all 8 townships to have the county look after it. County Council agreed to have a consultant come in, do work on talking to all the townships, bringing back reports. And at our last County Council meeting, it was determined that, first of all, before I go into that, most municipalities in the province that have a second tier looking after the garbage pickup. We are one of the people, one of the groups that don't. We're used as a bad example when others are talking about going that route, because we still have each township with their own contract. There are trucks that stop. See them today. Lakefield was being picked up. It stops at the Duro-Dummer boundary, turns around and comes back again. If it was collected by the county, they could continue on and go through. It wouldn't be a boundary thing for each township. So there are efficiencies created there. There should be money to be saved, and our carbon footprint should be reduced if we were to upload. However, at the county level, there were certain municipalities that didn't like that idea. And it was felt that each township council should hear the report from the consultant to see if we are interested as a township council in looking at having the county look after our garbage. So we are going to be receiving presentation on that. And to complicate things a little bit, we also have been looking at collection for organics. And the way that seems the most feasible for that would be to have one truck pick up both. So we did have a report at the county table. And it was felt that, again, until we know what direction each township is going, because it isn't a given that everyone is going to want to upload it. We've heard that already, Deputy Mayor and I, from some mayors and deputy mayors. We can't really deal with the organics because we don't know if it's going to be one contract with the county or each individual township will be looking after their own organics. So it remains to be seen, but sometime in the future, we will be getting this presentation. Just wanted to let you know. Deputy Mayor Black.
Thank you, through Mayor Senes. I think that's a great representation of kind of what's been happening. And I think it's apparent, certainly to me, that we need to understand what's happening with organics before we could consider signing on to garbage to the county. I think they go hand in hand. The organics issue has to be dealt with. It represents more than 50% of what goes into the landfill at this point. And the province has already estimated that in 10 years, there'll be 0 landfills left in Ontario with any space in them. So we have to extend the life of our landfill. We have to do organics. Residents have been asking for organics to be done. It's a matter of how it can be done efficiently. If the township has to do their own organics program, then garbage pickup and organics is the only way I really can support, not only from a cost perspective, but an environmental perspective. Having 2 trucks running around, diesel trucks, doesn't make any sense. So if there isn't county-wide organics, I think our best option as a township is to do it ourselves with our garbage, and whoever we use as a provider would be doing both. The organics is complicated. There's a lot of rural residents that already do all of their own organic waste management. So there's a big challenge in looking at it. Do we just pick up residential areas or both, or some food cyclers? So there's a lot of questions to be answered on the organic side. And personally, I need those answers to go along with the garbage piece. I certainly think we can look at the garbage piece as a study, but I think the organics question really has to be answered for this council before we decide on uploading garbage to the county.
Councillor Henry.
Thank you, through Mayor Senes. Just 2 things here. One, can you clarify, did you say we're the role model on how not to do this? Yep. You. Second point, in support of Deputy Mayor Black's comments on organics, we definitely have to take a serious look at this. I regularly frequent our landfill site here. May not have been the way to say that, but I do. And have noticed that we do have a big pile of organics there, but it's just sitting there. Nothing's getting worked, nothing's getting moved. So it's great that we're composting that, but if we're doing it in a way that's not healthy under environmental concerns and producing too much methane because it's not getting turned over properly, worked properly, we're definitely gonna have to delve into this, take a serious look at how we're gonna manage it then, especially if we take that on ourselves and become a role model of maybe how we can do this.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to clarify, Brian, so the organics that we have at the landfill is just leaf and yard waste. We don't actually collect organics that we'll be talking about for pickup, so it's not food waste, it's not any of that kind of stuff. It's strictly leaf and yard waste we have at the landfill.
Thank you. So I'm assuming then that that's going to reduce methane breakdown. It's just breaking down like it would in the forest then. For what the material is, it's breaking down right now.
Yeah, the leaf and yard waste, we do turn that over and we will use it as some cover in the landfill itself. So it is repurposed on the landfill site. We do need cover material and that's part of the cover that we use up there.
I stand corrected. Thank you.
Yep.
The last point that Adam made was the one that I was going to make, so thank you.
All right, yeah, so you can see what kind of discussion this generates, and I can assure you when we get our presentation from the consultant, be prepared for a longer meeting, because it will generate a lot of questions, and quite frankly, they don't have all the answers right now either, because until we know exactly which townships are interested in being a part of the upload, if it happens, we can't go out for an RFP. So the question of what kind of money we're going to save may not be answered when we receive this report. Right. Councillor Black.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Sennis. Yeah, just a reminder that the county is got a program that is picking up organics in Bridge North at this time. So we do have some experience on that side to lean on.
It's true. Anyway, it will generate a lot of discussion, I'm sure. So garbage always does. Councillor Boyko, we pulled that report. Was there something on that report that you wanted to speak to?
Nope, that's what I wanted to talk about. Thank you.
Oh, I thought you wanted to talk about the official plan.
Well, if you'd like, the question that I would like, number one, I'm looking at the official plan minutes and the recommended changes to the official plan. So again, perhaps Mayor Sennis or the deputy mayor could comment on the official plan minutes where it says that which appears to permit the plans of subdivision on rural land. So I'm wondering about the effects of growth on Selwyn on rural land and will we need to amend our official plan?
So this was the TAC report is a staff report. So I'm going to let Robert answer that question.
Through you, Mayor Sennis, I am not familiar with the contents of that report. Potentially could answer some of that on our behalf.
Yeah, so, yeah, Technical Advisory Committee, I do sit on that committee. The minutes likely that you're referring to are from Keziah Holden, who is the secretary for that committee. We're going through, obviously, the proposed changes to the provincial policy statement, then being renamed to the provincial planning statement. That comment that you're talking to specifically in regard to rural development and one of the changes in the policy statement to allow multi-lot residential development. So the proposal right now is to change wording in our official plan to reflect that change in policy.
You have another question?
So, yeah, so to follow up, so therefore what we're looking at is giving up more agricultural land, rural land for development. Am I right?
Through your worship. So there is a slight difference between outside of settlement areas, the rural areas and prime agricultural areas. So the multi-lot residential development is specific to rural areas, which are considered non-prime agricultural, right? So there will potentially be further development permitted in rural areas, multi-lot residential development in rural areas.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Black.
Just a quick comment. I think some of that stems from the new technology that's available. Not requiring connected to the city. That we have a lot of requests for smaller subdivisions on those lands that can be serviced through this new technology. So I think that's just preparing for potentially some of that new technology coming into the more rural parts of Ontario.
Of course, this is all predicated on the provincial policy statement being approved, and who knows what place that's at right now. I wouldn't want to bet money. So we need someone to move the receipt of the Peterborough County report as part of the consent. It had been pulled. Moved by Counselor Coulis, seconded by Counselor Henry, all in favor, that's carried. We have no committee reports or petitions. Under new and unfinished business, we have our regular council meeting of September the 10th, 2024. Looking to reschedule the meeting time from 1 p.m. to 9:30 a.m. due to a conflict with the OMEC conference times. I'm looking for someone to move that to happen. Deputy Mayor Black. Counselor Henry, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Is there any other new or unfinished business that council has? Sir Henry.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Sines. Just like to bring up something that maybe we can take a look at with the link transit services, which I have a pretty good feeling that is pretty divided opinions throughout council and the township on what we can do here with this, or whether we do anything with it. Been reading a lot from down east, Eastern Canada, on how public transit is actually being used to target tourism, bringing people out, say, from Peterborough County to enjoy what we have here, possibly get Curve Lake, or the Handy Trans could bring people to the accessible kayaking that we're going to have in Lakefield. Just something maybe to explore, which might garner support and financially for it as well.
And if council can make a note in your calendar, June the 3rd has been chosen as the volunteer dinner for the library. And I believe it will be at the Ennismore upstairs, the way it usually is. So if you can put that in your calendar, I appreciate it. We have bylaws before us, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. 2024-10 zoning bylaw amendment. This for the property on Highway 28. 011 to amend the tariff of fees. So sorry, just the two.
So I need someone to move those. Counselor Coulis, Counselor Henry, all in favor, it's carried. Confirming bylaw. Council Deputy Mayor Black, Counselor Boyko, all in favor, that's carried. Adjournment. Counselor Henry, Deputy Mayor Black, all in favor, it's carried. Thank you. Have a good afternoon.